Hi friends, welcome back to our channel. In this video, I am going to explain a new section, that is section 194Q, TDS on purchase of goods. This section is applicable for buyers when the goods purchased from sellers. Section 194Q applicable to whom? As per the provisions of section 194Q of the Income Tax Act, TDS is deductible if the buyer is responsible for making payment of a sum to the resident seller. So buyer is the responsible person for making the payment to the resident seller because he only purchased goods from seller, and such payment is to be done for the purchase of goods of the value or aggregate of the value exceeding rupees 50 lakhs. That is, at any time during the financial year the buyer exceeds the limit of 50 lakhs, then the buyer need to deduct TDS. Let us discuss who is the buyer. As per the explanation to the section 194Q, the term buyer means as under a person having total sales or gross receipts or turnover exceeding rupees 10 crores in immediate preceding financial year in which specified purchase of goods took place. Let's consider our buyer is in present financial year, that is 2021-22. For this we have to consider previous financial turnover, that is 2020-21. In this year the total turnover of the buyer exceeds 10 crores, then this section is applicable to the buyer. Buyer will not include if any person notified by the central government. Time of tax deduction on purchase of goods under section 194Q, that is relating to point of taxation, that is when we have to deduct the TDS. TDS on purchase of goods is to be deducted by the buyer within earlier of the following dates. That is, earlier date we have to consider for deducting TDS. We have two dates. First one is at the time of credit of sum into the account of the seller. That is, when we are recording the purchase entry in our books of accounts, that date. And the second date is at the time of payment, that is payment date. So based on these two dates we have to select earliest date for dating TDS. Rate of TDS deduction under section 194Q. The buyer is liable to deduct TDS at the rate of 0.1% of the value above 50 lakhs. That is, whatever the amount exceeds the limit of 50 lakhs, on that amount the buyer have to deduct 0.1%. However, in case of permanent account number, that is PAN of the seller is not available, then the buyer would liable to deduct tax rate of 5%. In case the seller is not provided his PAN to the buyer, then the buyer is liable to deduct 5% of the TDS. Let's consider this example for clear understanding of section 194Q. Mr. A is a buyer having total turnover of 50 crores. This 50 crores relating to previous financial turnover. And Mr. A purchased goods from Mr. B, who is a seller, a worth of rupees 52 lakhs. He purchased a worth of 52 lakhs. Since the buyer turnover is more than 10 crores and he purchased more than 50 lakhs worth, so section 194Q gets applicable. So the taxable amount is 2 lakhs, that is whatever the amount exceeds the amount, that is 52 lakhs minus 50 lakhs. No need to consider total amount of 52 lakhs. We have to consider whatever the limit, that is 50 lakhs exceeded amount, that is 2 lakhs. So that amount we have to consider for calculation of TDS. And the rate at which TDS is deductible under section 194Q is 0.1%. So the total amount of TDS deductible is 200. That is 2 lakhs into 0.1% is equal to 200. So we need to deduct 200 by the buyer. The effective date of application of the provision of section 194Q. The provisions introduced in the section 194Q will be effect from 1st July 2021. So this section is applicable from 1st July 2021 onwards. Exemptions available under section 194Q. TDS provisions covered under section 194Q are not applicable the following cases. Transactions on which TDS is already deductible under other provisions of Income Tax Act. That is, wherever the existing TDS provisions are applicable, that sections, this section 194Q is not applicable. And the transactions on which TCS is collectible as per the provisions of section 206C other than transactions on which TDS is collectible under section 206C IH. Section 206C 1H, which is interlinked with section 194Q, which I am going to explain next video. And some other important points relating to section 194Q, that is TDS is deductible under the both the provisions of section 194C 1H and 194Q. In these sections, TDS would be deductible only under section 194Q. For this, I am going to explain what is the reason for this in next video. So please follow me. And provision section 194Q are not applicable when the seller is a non-resident. So in case of seller is non-resident, then this section is not applicable. And the buyer fails to comply with the tax deduction provisions under section 194Q, then the provision of section 40A which is relating to disallowance. So whatever the goods purchased by the buyer, on that 30% of the transaction value is disallowed. In this section 194Q, there is no specifically mentioned about it is applicable for capital goods or revenue expenditure. So we can apply for both for capital goods and revenue expenditure in case of purchase of goods from seller by the buyer. Okay friends, thanks for watching this video. Please like and share and subscribe and activate bell icon for latest updates.